Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it was sent to me by one of our dear sister. The translation of that message reads like this. Hello, Brother Nanshi, how are you? Can you please post my own story as hidden identity? I am a woman who is aged 44 years old. I want to tell you what happened to my husband and all the things that he did before he had passed away. So my husband left a heavy burden for me that I don't think that I will be able to carry. And these rituals, I have to do them on a daily basis. Otherwise, the spirit of that man that he murdered, the spirit will come after me and my children. So I have been fighting against that spirit from the year that my husband passed away. So my husband, he died. This was in the year 2018. That was when my husband passed away. So my husband died whilst he was at Chikurubi Maximum Prison. I don't know if you remember during those years when people were saying that there were diamonds in Chiadzwa. So that was when my husband also went to Mutare, and he went to Chiadzwa, and he was working with his own brothers, and they were working as a syndicate. He then linked up with this other guy who was in South Africa. So he knew this guy, but the guy, he was from Blawayo. He was in Ndebele speaking man. So they were like friends, because my husband, he used to move around the country, and my husband, I don't want to lie to you, he was a thief. So this is how he got to know about that man that he later murdered. So he had gone to operate in Blawayo whilst they were hijacking cars there in Blawayo. So whenever they would go into a different town, then they would steal a lot of stuff, then they would go to the next town. So the guy was now working in South Africa. So they linked up after they had found some emeralds and some diamonds. So this guy, he was supposed to bring some South Africans that will be buying the diamonds. And these were like white South Africans that were buying the diamonds as well as the emeralds. At that time, my brother, my husband made so much money. And I don't know what is it with the human heart. Greed just is not a good thing, because at that time my husband made money and we bought the house that we have right now, and we started our small business, and we had our small shop in town. And even right now I still have that small shop. I am still running that small restaurant. So I spoke with my husband and I said, look, you have made so much money, there is no need for you to keep on doing all of these deals, because I was scared that things were going to go bad, because I knew my husband, he was someone who liked making quick money at all the times. So he kept on saying that those white guys that were coming from South Africa, they had said that if you could get some rhino horns, then they would purchase those rhino horns from him, then you will be able to make a lot of money. So they then went to Nyanga. That was where they got the rhino horns. So they brought back those rhino horns. So he then waited for his friend, the one who was in South Africa. Then those white guys, they came here to Zim, but they came with the friend of my husband, the one whom he ended up murdering. So then the guy said that he wanted some commission after those two white guys had left. My husband then gave his friend the commission, but he said that you're going to be sleeping at my place tonight. So the guy wanted to go straight to Blawayo on that same night. He was like, I want to give this money to my wife. I don't want to spend this money. I want to buy a house. But my husband kept on saying that, no, just sleep for tonight. It is already late. You will go tomorrow, or I will go with you, because my husband at that time, he already had a car. Then they went out. This was like late at night. So this man, I had spoken with him and I said that you should give me the money so that I can keep it safe for you. So this money, it was in US dollars, the commission that he had been given by my husband and his brothers. But the man, he did not trust me. He said, no, I am going to be okay. Where my money is, that is where I am going to be. Even if people are going to kill me, they must kill me for my money. My spirit will wake up again. So they went out for a braai and they drank their beer. So when they were there, I knew that my husband, he was the one who then spoke with some guys who started fighting with his friend, because he just wanted an opportunity to steal the money that he had given to his friend. So whilst the friend was fighting with those guys, that was when my husband said that he told his friend to get into the car. So the guy just got into the car. He did not know that him getting into the car, he was going to get killed. Then my husband confessed after he had been arrested that he then drove the car with his 3 brothers at the back, and his friend was sitting in the front with him. And as my husband was driving, as he was busy speaking with his friend, what his friend did not know was that one of my husband's brother, he was holding, there is this other tool. It is more like a rope, a steel rope that they use when they are cutting the horn of a cow. That is what my husband's brother was holding. So as my husband was driving the car, that was when my husband's brother, he then started strangling my husband's friend until he passed away. So after he had died, my husband confessed that they parked the car by the side of the road, and then they took some hacksaws and they dragged his friend further into the bushes until when they saw that they were a little bit far from the main road. The husband confessed and said that they had these 2 big black bags, and when they were chopping his friend off, they were just putting his body parts into those 2 bags. And after they were done doing that, that was when they drove until they went to this other lake. When they were at that lake, that was when they took 2 big stones and they tied those 2 big stones to those black bags, and they just threw everything into that lake because they just wanted everything to sink to the bottom. So when they were driving back home, that was when they were stopped because my husband was drunk. So the way that he was driving, when you are drunk, then they came past through this other roadblock. So my husband, he was supposed to stop because it was just a normal checkpoint, but he then panicked. This is what he said. Since he was drunk, he thought that maybe the police were now after them. Then he started driving. The police then suspected that my husband, the reason as to why he had run away, maybe he had some illegal stuff in the car. So then the police communicated with the other police as well as the CID. Then they started chasing after my husband. On that night, my husband was not arrested. He went straight to the village, and when my husband went straight to the village, that was when he called me. He told me that I was supposed to come to the village. So I went to the village and he told me everything that had happened. My husband then told me that I was supposed to keep the money that he had been given by those guys that they had sold the rhino horns to. So I then kept the money. But whilst we were still there at the village, my husband then told me that soon after they had murdered his friend, he had already started having visions and he was seeing his friend, and this spirit, it was now fighting against him. So my husband told me this in secret. He did not want his brothers to know that this is what was happening to him. So me and my husband, we then left. We just pretended as if we were going somewhere else. Then my husband drove. Already he had communicated with this other traditional healer. We went to that traditional healer's shrine. That was where my husband spoke with that spirit of his friend that he had murdered. He then told his friend that he was sorry, and he then took out some coins and he said that this is the money that I am giving you. The money that I am giving you right now, I want you to go and possess any of my brother's daughters, because that traditional healer had taken out because when we were at that traditional healer's shrine, there was this other little girl who was called into the consultation room, and she was possessed by the spirit of my husband's friend, the one that he had murdered. So my husband was told by that traditional healer to offer some old coins, like they were like old coins, and he was supposed to offer those coins to the spirit of his friend. So this little girl, they had made her to sit on a reed mat. So the spirit then started crying. It cried and it cried, and it kept on blaming my husband and said that you are the one who did this to me, but now you want me to go to your brothers, but you are the one who planned everything. But that traditional healer then got angry. He pointed his walking stick at that little girl and then started casting that spirit out and said, you have to go there, go where you have been sent, go to his brother's children, go and take their daughters, for we have given them to you. They are going to become your wives. So after that, that was when me and my husband, we were taught that each and every year I have to slaughter a cow. And when I slaughter, and so that was when me and my husband, we were told that each and every year we had to buy a bull, and after buying that bull we had to slaughter it. So that was what I started doing, because my husband, he was arrested a few days later. That was when he got arrested. So I've been doing this, Brother Nashi, and each and every night when I go to bed, there are some charms that were given to me. The charms, they are like oil, so I have to rub this oil on my private parts. But what this oil does is that the spirit of that man, he comes to me because he wants to make me his wife. But the problem is that this oil, it does chase his spirit away, and when he is chased away by that spirit, then I'll be able to sleep. But the problem is that this oil, it makes my private part to be so itchy. I tried to date this other guy after my husband was sentenced, because he was given 55 years in prison, and I knew that my husband was no longer coming back. So I said, let me try to date. I slept with that man only once. After I had slept with him, he started complaining and saying that he felt like there was someone who was cutting his intestines with a razor blade. A few days later, the man that I was dating and had slept with, he passed away. So I understood that the oil that was given to me, just like that traditional healer had told me, it is there to protect my private parts. So I cannot sleep with anyone. Even a spirit cannot force itself on me. So those are the painful rituals that I have to perform on a daily basis. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by our dear sister. Strange things do happen in this world.